The last 10 minutes of this episode, y'all, my baby Lestat is back. If you guys are new here, my name is Ashley, and this is My Sweet Perspective, where I give my take on all things TV and movie related. And if you're not new here, you already know what time it is. We are back for another recap and review of Interview with a Vampire, Season 2, Episode 6. Like the light by which God made the world before he made light, honey. That's the title of this episode. And we are going to jump right into it. If you love this review and this recap, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. And remember that every Tuesday night, me and Kay Bly from The Fifth Wall and Tyra over at Struggle Reviews TV are on deck, and we are talking about this live and in color. But without further ado, let's get right into this episode, honey. So we know that at the end of episode 5, we are in the midst of a conundrum, right? Armand has been found out by both Daniel and Louis, and they're instant besties. And so I came into this episode like we are going to be holding Armand's feet to the fire. We are going to get to the bottom of everything that happened. And that's not at all how the episode opened up. Okay. As the episode opens, we see Daniel and the real Rashid having sushi. And I'm like, what? Not the real Rashid leaving the condo. And I said instantly, Armand done sent him with Daniel to spy. That's all that was. That's all that was. Now I will give you this. Daniel actually called Rashid without the prefix this time. And Daniel is questioning Rashid really about the tapes. And he said, did it come from my mailbox? Because I have a special relationship with my mailman, and he's not just going to give my mail to anyone. How did y'all procure this? And the real Rashid is like, listen, I got to go to the bathroom. Okay. As soon as he dips out to the bathroom, who pops up? But the Talamasca's own Raglan James. And let me make sure I pronounce Talamasca the proper. And so I'm thinking in this moment, Rashid's an undercover agent, honey. He is working with the Talamasca as well. But Raglan is there, and he is like, so what's up, Daniel? You called me here. I didn't call you this time. And Daniel's like, can you protect me? I want to get out of this thing alive, okay? And Raglan is like, listen, you fear Armand, but you should really fear the other one, okay? He offers Daniel a publisher. He says, you know what? If you take the publishing route on your own, Daniel, this book will never see the light of day. You'll get a call, they'll make an offer, they'll bury your book. I can help you with that, okay? But I got about 100 or so questions I need you to add to your interview questionnaire. Okay. And also, Raglan makes a statement in this moment that, Daniel, if I was you, I'd be head of the Talamasca. And I said, interesting. And now I really hope that we get to explore this. I know we only have 2 more episodes now. So the season is coming to an end. But y'all, I have so many more questions about the Talamasca, the order, how it works. Listen. I need to know the answers. And so now we are back to Armand and Louis in the condo, whatever it is. Is it a condo? Their place in Dubai. And honey, they're making design decisions, just passive aggressive. You can tell that Louis is seething in the moment. And I mean, they talking about wallpaper and what would go here, leave it blank. And I'm just like, ugh. Okay. We go back to the sushi place. And yes, Rashid is an agent the entire time. And I'm here for that. I'm here for this level of duplicity on Rashid's part. You know what I'm saying? It just goes with the flow. And so now we're back in Paris, and there is a new play, honey, a new play. And so Santiago is, giving it his best shot, right? And it's really a play about, uh, per Armand's notes, right? It's a superficial look at the life of a vampire, what it meant to be a vampire, but really just on a surface level. And so I guess he's feeding into it though, because he's trying to remain in control of the Theater des Vampires. And following Louis' advice, which indulge the buffoon and smother the mutiny with praise. And so that's exactly what Armand is doing, but poorly, right? He's giving praise to the playwright, to Santiago, amazing job. You're doing the work, you're doing all of the things. And again, Armand has me under no delusion that he is deaf, dumb, and blind. Okay. I know he knows exactly what's going on. Listen, the story still, I feel like I'm missing some piece of the truth, okay? And so now we see Claudia, and she's cleaning gum from under the stools, honey, and making all the noise with her bucket clanking. And they are passing around her journal like it's the burn book, okay? And she looks completely miserable. She's done, okay? Meanwhile, Santiago is telepathically communicating to his sister wives, right? The ladies that he's messing with. And apparently they have reached a peace because they are now in Roger's office. And you know Roger is the banker who was handling Lestat's estate and funding the theater. And they're questioning, when's the last time you heard from Lestat? And he's keeping it cute. He's like, listen, I don't, the problem is communication's one way. I don't reach out to him. He reaches out to me. And it just matters, it's just a matter of time, that he does it. And I don't really recall the last time. And so Santiago, bull, comes through like a bull in a china shop and is like, you need to tell me. Okay. And I said, dang, can he glamour someone telepathically through this chick? Like all the, like, that's deep. But they say Santiago's the youngest and the strongest. So I'm going to just set it right there. But he's definitely controlling the mind of the banker, honey. And the banker lets it all come out. I haven't heard from Lestat since it was a telegram, 1940, from New Orleans, Louisiana. And they're like, ah. And Santiago's smirking on the stage. And the ladies, they're being pawns, doing what they've been told to do. And again, my question throughout this whole farce really is, Armand really this stupid, or is it just a facade? You know what I mean? And so present day, Daniel questions it like I would have canceled it. Like, you were an ancient vampire that can read minds and you had no clue. Armand gonna say I was blinded by love. Louis gonna say he was just lazy, and Armand insists that it's love. And my thing, Armand, ain't that much love in the world. You are an ancient vampire. Like, I don't know. You can't possibly, your self-esteem can't possibly be this low, my guy. I just don't believe it. I just honestly cannot believe he'd be that self-loathing and self-deprecating as an ancient vampire, that you decided to just, you were so much in love, being 500 something years old, you were so much in love that you had no clue what was looming about. You had no clue what these people that you've known for all these years were up to something. Come on, Armand, make it make sense. And so now Daniel has the last part of Claudia's diary, the last entry she's ever made. And it reads, diaries are friends of last resort. Found one not made of paper and glue. And again, her last statement in this entry was, F these vampires. Listen, she was tired. She was tired of being sick and tired. She says, I have found my immortal beloved, and I'm going with. And so Louis is basically like, yeah, this is around the time that Claudia had determined that Madeline was going to be her immortal beloved, but this is before she was immortal. And so Daniel makes a quick note that everything now is without written corroboration. Okay, so this is all based on the mind, and we know Louis' mind and Armand, we just can't trust him, okay? But the shade is heavy. Shady boots, honey. Everything shade, because we're mad at Armand. But again, I guess we're scared to really confront Armand at this point. So now we're back in Paris, and Madeline's in her dress shop, honey, and we see a woman and two men strolling down the street, super drunk, with their paint buckets, because these are apparently the people that have been vandalizing her dress shop. And so she's sick and tired of being sick and tired, honey. She throws the iron out the window. They spaz out, and they come in through the window. And the men are going to have their way, and I guess their little girl pal, whoever was there, was just fine with it. The shopkeep across the street is like, yeah, I'm minding my business. I don't see anything. See no evil, hear no evil. And my thing is, woman to woman, you're gonna let these dudes go back there and SA her? Like, come on. And so next thing we know, Claudia's there, and it is a blood bath. Do you hear me? Because we know exactly what's going to happen when Claudia gets there, but she is to the rescue before the worst happens. And after the shock initially wears off, Madeline gets up, walks out, and sees Claudia, and we know Claudia, a little bloody around the mouth, and is like, you're a And Claudia's like, listen, we ain't got time for all that right now. Yes, I'm a vampire, but I got to do this cleanup. Are you going to run? What we doing, Madeline? Okay, because we made a lot of noise in the middle of Paris. I can clean it up, but I need you to chill out, okay? Because I got to do it quick, all right? And so, they're going to sit right there with that. And so, next thing we know, Louis is at the theater and he's found this new artist. Listen, because he's got this whole plan. He's going to acquire art. It's his investment. He'll sell later. And he's got all these big plans to get to the bag. Okay. He's all of a sudden has all of this motivation. And apparently it turns him on because next thing we know, it's face down, A up. He says, Armand, get in that coffin on your stomach. And I'm like, whoa, not a kiss, not a hi, how are you, sweetheart? And Armand tries to play coy and he's like, no, I have to work on the play. And Louis said, get up and I mean, the suspenders came down. You know what I mean? And they did that in the office in front of everybody, honey. And Santiago just keep keying like, all right, it's cute now. Go ahead and do it. Go on ahead. Now Claudia has Madeline in the apartment. Louis comes in there and he's pissed. Listen, he says, which Claudia, what you doing? And Madeline, don't you say nothing, because if you do, I'm going to take off your arms and I'm going to throw you out the window. And I said, well, dang, Louis. Come on, Louis. Be a little bit more hospitable than that. And Claudia's like, listen, she saw me unalive some people. She's reading my diary. She's not scared. And Louis is like, you just doing the most. And he says, finally, you know what, Claudia, it's a companion you want. You want her as a companion. And she's like, yeah. And he asks, so is this romantic? And they both say no. But then Madeline says, not yet. And I'm thinking, Claudia looked like a little girl. The way it's, presented everywhere else, she's supposed to look more young than she actually is right now. So I was like, that's a little sus. I thought this was going to be like a mother-daughter situation, not like a potential lover situation, but they threw that in there. So anyway, next thing we see, Armand is walking through the door and Louis lays it on thick. Like, imagine me without the burden of her, right? Imagine me without the burden of Claudia, because Armand immediately was like, Claudia's a manipulator. It's all your fault, Claudia. Because I think secretly, Armand, maybe not so secretly, Armand just hates women. Armand do not like women. He just doesn't, especially Claudia. Okay. And so when Louis says that, though, imagine me without the burden of her. We can do what we want. We can go where we want. We don't have to think about her. That is when Armand is like, okay, I'll consider changing. I'll consider giving Madeline the dark gift. And so he goes in there to interview Madeline, which really was a ruse, because we know now that he was never going to do it, because actually Armand has never turned someone. He's never given someone the dark gift, right? And so he's asking her, what will you do when this era is over? How will you feed? What would be your plan? And all these things. And she's like, listen, buddy, listen, young man, I know what I'm going to do. I know what I can do. And finally, he asked, well, what are you going to do when Claudia throws herself into the fire? Because it's inevitable. She's going to do it. And Madeline says, what if it's not? And I thought that was kind of special. I was like, okay, maybe Madeline is better than I thought. Y'all know I'd given her a hard time in the beginning. Uh, you know, you know. And so now Louis is stronger and harder than ever. Okay. That's what Claudia is saying to him. You're different, Louis. You're stronger, you're harder. And Louis is like, look, he's going to say yes. I know Armand. I got Armand wrapped around my finger. He's going to say yes. And I'm like, okay. Again, Armand refuses to make her because, again, he's never made a vampire. And my thing is, he's just such a weakling. Armand just gave uber weak this entire episode. Like, at least have the courage of your convictions. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to stand on business, stand on it. And from everything we've heard before, the laws are paramount to you. They hold a special place in your heart, but you can't seem to stand up for anything you love, believe in, nothing. Like, I just, And so now we're back in the theater. And Santiago and Armand are into it, honey. He says, Armand, what's up your butt? Is it Louis Quan to get out? What's really happening? And Santiago's putting on a whole act, honey, talking about the play is terrible, all that. And we hear him telepathically talking to the playwright, and he's like, listen, I'm sorry, I love the play, but we gotta do it this way. And apparently, over the next couple of months, we begin to learn of all of these wild activities, these crimes that are unsolved that are being committed by the coven. So there's bedlam, right? And Louis is still begging Armand to turn Madeline. And finally, Louis decides that he's going to do it for Claudia. And apparently, he puts it on Armand. And Armand can't even think straight at this point. Louis is like, listen, you go, keep make sure it keep stays quiet, and I'm gonna go do this thing. And Armand is like, are you asking or telling me? And Louis is like, baby, I'm telling you. You know I'm daddy. You know I'm daddy now. We didn't reverse the roles, okay? And I'm gonna do what I need to do. Just make sure that we're not disturbed, okay? And so now we are back in the apartment with Claudia, Madeline, and Louis, and it's time to do the thing. And so Claudia is walking Madeline through the process, what it's gonna be like, calming her, reassuring her. And Louis, it's time to get to work. So he takes his bite. And as he's biting, he's actually saying he's kind of experiencing everything that Madeline has gone through and seen in her life. And again, this is a new experience. This is our first time really seeing the introspective process of being a maker, right? Of creating a new vampire. And so he's recalling everything from her life. And as we go, we see her traumas, we see the loss of her sister, and we also get to see how she felt when she met Claudia. And he said it was in that moment that he knew that Madeline would be a better companion to Claudia than he could ever be. He said in the vision, Claudia to Madeline was resplendent. She was beautiful. It was like the sun was shining bright on Claudia, and that there was really this love and affection for her, and that put him at ease. But honey, the next thing we see, Louis, he's sitting up in that apartment, and he done bled all over the floor. And Armand comes in scared because we know this is Louis, right? He comes in looking crazy, wrists all shredded up, blood all over the floor, just dramatic. And Armand is like, what happened? He was like, I tried to upchuck all the blood I took, and I opened my veins up to let it, listen, drain out. He says, as soon as I made her, I didn't care about Claudia anymore. It was like I knew as I was making her that I was stopped. The care that I had was ending, right? Basically, he was like, I was thinking about it, and it was like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. He said, I can feel Madeline, but I don't care. And Armand says, even though Claudia was a difficult one, right? She's one worth having. And I was like, Armand, that's cute, but we know that that's not it. And so when Armand had just come in, he came in with his suitcase, and apparently he broke the coven, right? And my thing is, Armand, the duplicitous nature of Armand, even in this moment, knowing what we know happened at the end of this episode, I was like, bruh, you knew. You knew when you just came in here in Louis' face, healing his little opened up veins. And so now I know he made a side deal to save Louis in some way, but definitely this was a setup to get rid of Madeline and Claudia. He felt like Claudia is an abomination, and I believe it's true. He holds tight to the rules no matter how much he acted and tried to keep it cute, and tried to stall or do whatever. This was always going to be the end in Paris, right? It was always going to be about getting rid of Claudia. Present day, we get to Daniel, and Daniel's basically like, Louis, Armand is full of ish. You know what I mean? Because Armand is like, Louis, what, you're mad now because you think I changed your memory or took your memory back in San Francisco, but you asked me to. And Louis is like, what? And the Daniel's like, he's full of crap. He's full of crap, Louis, because they're besties now. And Armand is like, I'm not. He was like, the 4 pages I took out of the diary, that was to protect me. The things that I hid in your mind, they were to protect me, because what gives you right to my cowardice? And my thing is, Armand, it was more than cowardice, Buki. It was more than cowardice. That was manipulative. That was a betrayal. Like, and he says, well, Louis forgave me. And I said, well, that takes a big man, because I don't know if I could, if I knew the whole truth about it. And he says, Daniel, why did I owe you my shame? But now you're gonna go ahead and tell it. So I mean, what was the pact? He says that his one act of cowardice, he tried to make up for it, but he'll never make up for it. And again, it's more than cowardice in my mind. And my other question is, did Louis really ask for it? I can't trust anything Armand says, honestly, because I feel like if he's talking, he's lying. Okay, so now we're back in Paris and it's a double date. And Claudia looks so happy. This is the most happy we have seen Claudia the entire 2 seasons. Do you hear me? And so they're basically, I feel like, having a double date. It's Armand, it's Louis, it's Madeline, it's Claudia. And Claudia and Madeline are talking about their plans. Louis had told them as soon as they made her get out of town, and they're saying, they're feeding, they're burying the bodies, they're living their best life. They're going to explore, they're going to be wanderers together. But they wanted to come back and meet because Madeline told Claudia, Louis really loves you. I can feel his love for you. And she's like, and Louis, I can feel you. And Louis like, I can feel you too, stranger. Like, I can feel you too, girl. And, Armand is, eating it all up, smiling in everybody's face, knowing the setup that was coming. And so they're talking, and Armand says, let me get up and go, smoke his cigarette. And, she, as he's leaving, Madeline is like, why don't you tell him you love him so much? Why do you try to hide it? He's like, I don't want to give him the big head. The big head won't fit through the door. And so he's up there, and Madeline's still conversing with Louis about his love for Armand, honey. And in that moment, we see Santiago sauntering up the street, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And he's got a little burlap sack with him, and I'm like, this is not going to be good. And as soon as he almost hits the door and sees Armand let Santiago in, Louis' countenance completely changes. It is up from there. The bags come out over everybody's head, honey. And next thing we see, we're back at the Theater de Vampire, and Santiago is the judge, honey. Looks like the judge. And it's going to be a trial. There's a trial, okay? And so we see all of them on the stage uh for their first matinee ever. This is a daylight, scene, and he's running a list of all of the crimes, creating an immortal child, murder, conspiracy, making other vampires, all of the vows, because they violated all the 5 laws at this point. And so go backstage, Mr. Lestat de Liancourt. Okay, you've got 10 minutes to showtime, to curtain. And there we see Lestat, baby. Lestat is back for this trial, honey. I cannot wait to see what is in store for next episode. Now, as far as my review for this episode, y'all, was it my favorite? No, but it's painting a clearer picture. You know what I'm saying? I've never been about the dynamic of Madeline and Claudia, but I will say the show did make me care about their bond and connection, only to rip it away from me a couple of minutes later. But I really did enjoy that. I don't like that Armand is playing in our face, making us feel like he's been stupid this whole time and not knowing what his coven's been up to. Like, I don't like that. And I am more excited to hear more and learn more about the Talamasca and how Daniel is going to fit in that equation. And actually, what's really going to happen to Daniel? Is the story over after this season with Daniel? What's in store for us next, you guys? So anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, y'all. And I will see y'all in the next video.